As I stood in the expansive control room of the Stan America Oil Corporation, the large screens in front of me painted a grim picture. The world's largest oil field, which had fueled industries and economies for decades, was drying up. "We're at a tipping point," I said, turning to face Harrison Ford, the CEO whose face was etched with concern. The numbers were there, blinking back at us in red, but it was more than just figures. Something deep down told me there was an unseen factor at play. Harrison leaned against the console, his eyes scanning the data. "Calvin, are we missing something here? You've always had a knack for seeing beyond the obvious." His tone was skeptical but hopeful. I nodded, feeling the weight of my next words. "There's something else, deep below. I've theorized about biotic factors at extreme depths, maybe even forms of life that we've never encountered. This could be the breakthrough we need, not just to solve our current crisis, but to redefine energy resources entirely." Later that day, I introduced the miner to Harrison and the board. The machine was my brainchild, designed to drill deeper than any before it, capable of reaching 2 miles beneath the Earth's surface. "This isn't just a drill," I explained, my voice filled with a mix of excitement and solemnity. "It's a pioneer, a vessel to unveil the mysteries that lie in the heart of our planet." The room was silent, every stakeholder seemingly holding their breath, caught between doubt and awe. Preparations for the descent began under a sky that seemed to mirror our operations, overcast, with winds whispering of changes. I oversaw every detail, from the calibration of the miner to the safety checks on our gear. The possibility of encountering life forms, which I dubbed Petroia in my logs, added a profound layer of complexity to the mission. These creatures, if they existed, thrived in conditions unimaginable to the surface dwellers. The night before the descent, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed every scenario, from groundbreaking discoveries to catastrophic failures. The image of the Petroia haunted me, a silhouette of possibilities, both terrifying and fascinating. I penned down my thoughts, a habit that helped me navigate the storms of uncertainty. Tomorrow, we delve into the unknown, into the very womb of Earth. What we find there could change everything. Morning came with a heavy fog, the landscape shrouded in a gray veil, as if concealing the Earth's secrets. I met my team at the site, each member clad in specialized gear, faces set with determination and underlying nerves. We reviewed our objectives one last time, our voices barely more than whispers against the howl of the wind. "Stay sharp, stay together," I instructed, the responsibility of their lives heavy on my shoulders. As the miner activated, its hum filling the air, a mix of adrenaline and dread coursed through me. We entered the cabin, the descent beginning with a slow rumble, the surface light fading as we were swallowed by the depths. The walls of the shaft closed in, a tangible reminder of the miles of rock and soil above us. Deeper and deeper we went, the temperature fluctuating as predicted, sweltering heat giving way to sudden chills. The cabin's monitors flickered with geological data, layers of the Earth revealing themselves like pages of a hidden tome being turned. "Look at these formations," I pointed out to the team, my finger tracing the outlines of structures that shouldn't have been there. When the cabin finally halted, a silence fell over us, profound and ominous. We were 2 miles underground, in the heart of a world unseen by surface eyes. As the lights of the miner pierced the darkness, they caught on something, shapes moving in the shadows, just at the edge of our vision. The Petroia, as real as the rock around us, and as enigmatic as the darkest ocean depths. I stepped forward, my heart pounding in my chest. "We are not alone," I murmured, more to myself than to anyone else. What lay ahead was unknown, a path that could lead to enlightenment or doom. But one thing was clear: this journey was only just beginning. As the doors of the miner creaked open, a blast of cool, musty air greeted us. We were 2 miles beneath the Earth's surface, in a realm where no sun had shone, no winds had blown. The only light was the artificial glow from our helmets and the miner's beams, slicing through the darkness like swords. Each step we took echoed ominously, the sounds bouncing off unseen walls. I led the way, my heart thumping a steady rhythm of anticipation and dread. The environment we traversed was unlike anything I had prepared for, despite all my training and experience. Here, the earth spoke in whispers of shifting stones and the distant drip of unseen waters. We moved cautiously, the terrain underfoot uneven and treacherous. The air was thick, leaden with the scent of minerals, and a hint of something else, something alien. I couldn't help but feel we were intruders in a world not meant for humans. As we ventured deeper into the cavernous expanse, the temperature shifts became more pronounced. One moment we were enveloped in a suffocating heat, the next, a chill that seeped into our bones. I monitored our environmental suits' readouts, ensuring they adjusted correctly to the extremes. This place was a geological marvel, a testament to the planet's raw, untamed power. The first sighting of the Petroia was almost accidental. Our path took us along a narrow ledge overlooking a vast chasm. Below, in the flickering shadows, movement caught my eye. There, illuminated briefly by a shaft of light from one of our lamps, was a Petroia. It was a fleeting glimpse, but enough to sear the image into my mind. Large, black, rubber-skinned beings with tentacle-like limbs that moved with unsettling grace. I stopped, signaling the team to halt. "There," I whispered, pointing towards the chasm. We watched in silent awe as more of these creatures emerged from the shadows. They moved deliberately, perhaps cautious of our presence. It was a surreal moment, standing there, witnessing what no other human had. A hidden ecosystem thriving in the bowels of the earth. The encounter was brief. The Petroia soon retreated into the darkness, leaving us with more questions than answers. I noted every detail I could remember, knowing this discovery could redefine our understanding of life's resilience and adaptability. Yet, amidst the excitement, a seed of concern planted itself in my mind. These creatures were not just fascinating biological anomalies. They were living beings, and their existence was now known to us, and potentially threatened. We pressed on, deeper into the caverns. The structures here hinted at immense geological shifts over millennia. Stalactites hung from the ceiling like jagged teeth, and stalagmites rose from the ground to meet them. In some places, the rock formations formed natural archways, creating a labyrinthine network of tunnels and chambers that we navigated with increasing unease. Our advanced mining equipment, which I had described in briefings as capable of handling any underground conditions, was put to the test. The static guns were particularly crucial, designed not just for defense, but for altering geological structures if necessary. We used them to clear a blocked passageway at one point, the weapon's energy pulses vibrating through the rock with a force that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. As we set up a temporary camp in a cavern large enough to accommodate us, I took a moment to reflect on our journey thus far. The darkness around us was absolute when the lights were off, a darkness so deep it felt alive. I recorded my thoughts in a log, my voice low in the quiet of the underground night. We have ventured into the abyss, into a world beyond our world. Tomorrow, we continue, driven by a primal need to explore, to know. But tonight, we rest, surrounded by mysteries that sleep in the deep. The dawn underground does not bring light. We awoke to the same oppressive darkness we had surrendered to the night before, the silence around us a thick blanket that seemed to absorb sound. Today was to bring further exploration, but fate had other plans. As we packed our equipment, a low rumble echoed through the cavern, a warning we failed to heed in time. Within moments, an explosion rocked the chamber, a blast not of our doing. Panic ensued as debris rained down, the path we had come through now a tangle of rock and dust. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and our headlamps cut through the smoky darkness, the extent of our predicament became clear. We were trapped, the minor damage beyond immediate repair, and our main route of escape effectively sealed. My heart raced, a mix of adrenaline and cold fear pumping through my veins. "Check in," I called out, my voice steadier than I felt. One by one, my team confirmed they were okay, though shaken. The relief was palpable, but short-lived as the reality of our situation set in. We assessed the damage to the miner. The explosion had crippled its navigation systems and blocked the drilling mechanism with debris. Our communication with the surface was sporadic, the signals weak and unreliable deep within the Earth's crust. "We need to establish a stable line to the surface," I stated, the task daunting yet critical. The team nodded, understanding the importance. Without a reliable way to communicate, our chances of rescue were slim. The environment around us had changed. The once stable chamber now felt threatening, its walls cracked and groaning under the strain of unseen forces. The air was cooler, a sign that the ventilation system had also suffered. We set up temporary lighting, the beams casting long shadows that danced ominously around us. In this flickering light, the challenges we faced seemed to multiply. As we worked to clear a secondary tunnel, hoping it would lead to another passage upward, the Petroia appeared again. This time, their presence was not a fleeting mystery, but a palpable threat. They hovered at the edges of our lights, their eyes reflecting a stark, unblinking malice. It was clear now that they were not mere curiosities to be observed, but potential dangers in their own right. The interactions with the Petroia escalated quickly. At one point, as we attempted to navigate through a narrow opening, they attacked. It was swift, terrifying. The static guns we carried were designed more for geological manipulation than combat, but they were our only defense. Firing pulses of energy, we managed to repel them, but the encounter left us rattled, our sense of security shattered. The psychological toll began to weigh on us as the hours stretched into another cycle of darkness. Isolation and the constant threat of the Petroia lurking in the shadows strained our nerves. I found myself wrestling with the weight of leadership, the responsibility for not just the success of the mission but the lives of my team. We shared stories of the surface, of sunlight, and open skies, trying to fend off the claustrophobia that threatened to consume us. In a quieter moment, I recorded another log, my voice low, almost lost in the cavern's embrace. Our situation is dire, but not hopeless. We have faced the unknown and survived. Now we must adapt, overcome, not just for ourselves, but for the world above that remains oblivious to the depths of its own planet. As we settled into an uneasy rest, a plan began to form in my mind. Escape was not just a possibility. It was a necessity. We would repair what we could, use the resources at our disposal, and not just wait for rescue but work towards it with every ounce of strength we had. The thought was a small light in the dark, a flicker of hope that I clung to as I drifted into a fitful sleep, the sounds of the shifting earth a constant reminder of the challenges ahead. Our situation in the cavern was becoming increasingly precarious. The initial explosion that had trapped us echoed in my mind as a stark reminder of our vulnerability. We had managed to clear a narrow path through the debris, our efforts painstakingly slow, hindered by the constant threat of the Petroia. It was during one of these tense moments, as we inched our way forward, that we first heard the voices, low, indistinct murmurs that seemed to seep from the very walls around us. Curiosity mixed with caution as we followed the sounds, our lights slicing through the darkness. What we stumbled upon was both unexpected and unnerving. A makeshift laboratory carved into the rock, its contents a testament to scientific ambition and madness. Equipment, more advanced than anything we had brought with us, littered the space. Computers hummed, screens flickering with data that spoke of complex experiments. This was no ordinary operation. It was a nexus of something far more sinister. It was here that Elias Miles and Victor Romanov revealed themselves. They emerged from the shadows with a disarming confidence, their demeanor that of men who believed themselves masters of their environment. Miles, tall and wiry, had eyes that flickered with a peculiar intensity, while Romanov, more solidly built, exuded a calm authority. Their presence was unsettling, a tangible reminder of the human capacity for both genius and moral corruption. Miles spoke first, his voice carrying an unsettling blend of arrogance and amusement. "Calvin Morrow, isn't it? We've heard much about you and your little expedition. But you've stumbled onto something far greater than oil reserves." His words were laced with a challenge, a taunt that sent a chill down my spine. I knew then that we had uncovered more than just a scientific operation. We had found the architects of a dangerous conspiracy. Romanov, less flamboyant than Miles, spoke with a measured calm. "What you've seen here is the future, Mr. Morrow. The Petroia are not mere curiosities. They are the key to controlling energy resources across the globe. Imagine the power to dictate the world's energy supply, to hold nations at our mercy." His words were cold, devoid of emotion, yet they resonated with a disturbing truth. The implications of their revelation hit me like a punch to the gut. These men intended to use the Petroia, creatures of incredible potential, as pawns in a game of global dominance. My instincts as a scientist screamed against such exploitation, and I felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on my shoulders. I realized then that our mission had taken on a new dimension. It was no longer just about survival, but about stopping a threat that could change the course of human history. As we stood in the laboratory, surrounded by the hum of machinery and the unsettling presence of Miles and Romanov, the Petroia appeared once more. This time, they were not curious onlookers but active participants, their movements controlled by unseen forces, likely emanating from the machines around us. Miles gestured to them with a flourish, a proud ringmaster showcasing his prized attractions. "See how they respond to us, how they obey," he said, his voice tinged with triumph. But triumph quickly turned to chaos as the Petroia, perhaps sensing our fear or Miles' overconfidence, reacted unpredictably. Their tentacles lashed out, striking at equipment, causing sparks to fly and systems to falter. In the confusion, I saw an opportunity. "Now," I shouted to my team, urging them to move, to use the distraction to our advantage. We retreated quickly, Miles' voice trailing after us, a mixture of anger and disbelief. "You can't escape us, Morrow. We'll find you, and when we do, the world will change." But I had no intention of letting them succeed. The Petroia, once again relegated to the shadows, seemed to understand this, their presence both a threat and, paradoxically, a potential ally against their own manipulation. As we navigated the labyrinth of tunnels, my mind raced, formulating a plan. We had to disable the machinery controlling the Petroia, disrupt Miles and Romanov's operations, and somehow signal the surface for help. It was a daunting task, one that seemed insurmountable in the dim light of our headlamps. But I knew we had to try for the sake of the Petroia, for ourselves, and for a world unaware of the dangers lurking miles beneath its feet. In the relative safety of a smaller cavern, I gathered my team, our breaths heavy with exhaustion and determination. "We have a new mission," I declared, meeting each of their eyes in turn. "We stop them here, now, before they can unleash this madness upon the world." The resolve in their faces was heartening, a reminder that even in the darkest depths, hope could spark a light. Together, we would face whatever came next, our paths entwined with the fate of those who had been drawn into the abyss. In the oppressive darkness of the subterranean labyrinth, our breaths came shallow and quick. The tension was palpable, each of us acutely aware of the daunting task ahead. The air was thick with the scent of earth and minerals, a constant reminder of the immense weight pressing down upon us. As we moved deeper into the maze of tunnels, the echoes of our footsteps seemed to pulse with a life of their own, amplifying the sense of urgency that propelled us forward. The plan was simple in concept but complex in execution. Disable the machines controlling the Petroia and disrupt the operations of Miles and Romanov. But the reality was that we were outnumbered, outgunned, and in hostile territory. As we approached the heart of their operation, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were walking into a trap, yet there was no turning back. Every step was a step towards confrontation, towards a reckoning with forces far more powerful than any of us had anticipated. Our path led us through a network of natural caverns and man-made tunnels, the latter filled with the detritus of scientific ambition. Abandoned equipment, scattered notes, the detritus of minds bent on control and conquest. The dim light from our headlamps cast long shadows that danced eerily along the walls, creating a disorienting tableau of shapes and forms. I kept my focus on the task, aware that distraction could prove fatal. As we reached the main chamber, the scene was one of organized chaos. The room buzzed with activity, the air alive with the hum of computers and the low rumble of machinery. Miles and Romanov were there, overseeing the proceedings with an air of command that spoke of absolute confidence in their plan. Their eyes met mine, and I saw a flash of surprise quickly masked by resolve. This was the battlefield, the place where the future would be decided. "Calvin Morrow," Miles sneered, his voice carrying over the din. "You've come to witness the birth of a new era. A shame you won't live to see it through." His words were intended to intimidate, but they only steeled my resolve. I knew what was at stake, not just for us, but for the world above, blissfully ignorant of the nightmare brewing below its feet. The Petroia loomed in the background, their massive forms casting long shadows across the chamber. They were under the control of Miles' machines, responding to commands with an unsettling precision. My heart ached at the sight. Creatures of unimaginable power reduced to puppets, their autonomy stolen by men who saw only opportunity in their existence. The confrontation escalated quickly. We had no choice but to engage, to fight with every ounce of strength and ingenuity we possessed. The static guns proved invaluable, their energy pulses disrupting both equipment and the creatures' coordination. It was a brutal, chaotic struggle, the air filled with the sounds of battle. Shouts, the crackle of electricity, the crash of machinery failing under the onslaught. My team fought valiantly, each member driven by the knowledge that failure was not an option. The chamber was a storm of motion and sound, the Petroia moving with an unsettling grace despite the chaos. But gradually, through sheer determination and the calculated use of our technology, we began to turn the tide. The control machines, vital to Miles and Romanov's plans, started to falter under our assault. Amidst the melee, I spotted an opportunity. An exposed terminal, likely the nerve center of their control network. I surged forward, using the confusion to my advantage. My hands moved with practiced precision, years of training culminating in this moment. With a few deft keystrokes, I initiated a system overload, the screens flaring with warnings and error messages. The effect was immediate. The Petroia, freed from the artificial chains of control, hesitated, their movements no longer dictated by machines. A ripple of uncertainty passed through the chamber, a shift in the balance of power that Miles and Romanov could not ignore. The tables had turned, and with it, the battle was ours to win. In the ensuing chaos, I caught sight of Miles, his face twisted in disbelief. "This isn't over, Morrow," he shouted, his voice a mix of fury and desperation. But I knew the tide had turned irrevocably. The Petroia, no longer constrained, began to retreat into the shadows, their forms disappearing into the depths from whence they came. With the immediate threat neutralized, we regrouped, our breaths ragged with exhaustion and relief. The battle had been won, but the journey was far from over. The mission had taken on a new dimension, one not just of survival, but of ensuring that the secrets we had uncovered remained buried, safe from those who would exploit them for their gain. As we prepared to leave, I cast one last glance at the chamber, a place of chaos and revelation, and steeled myself for the path ahead. With the control machines disabled and the Petroia retreating into the dark recesses of the cavern, a new challenge emerged: the urgent need to return to the surface. The fight had taken its toll on both our equipment and our spirits, but the resolve to reach safety burned brightly within us. We had come too far and discovered too much to let this be the end. The cavern around us seemed to groan in response to the chaos it had witnessed, the rock walls vibrating with an ominous energy. We knew we had to move quickly, for the structural integrity of the tunnels was uncertain at best. As the dust settled from our confrontation, I gathered my team, each of them worn but determined. "We need to get back topside," I urged, my voice a blend of authority and urgency. Every second counts. Navigating the maze-like corridors was no small feat. The explosions and ensuing battle had altered the landscape, leaving debris and unstable pathways in our wake. Our headlamps flickered across the rugged terrain, revealing the path ahead in stark relief. We moved in a tight formation, each step calculated to avoid triggering a collapse or encountering more Petroia. Our path was illuminated by the occasional burst of fluorescent minerals embedded in the cavern walls, their glow a natural guide in the otherwise impenetrable darkness. This luminescent beauty reminded me of the untouched wonders beneath the Earth's crust, even as we fought for our lives. The irony was not lost on me. We had descended to this realm in pursuit of resources, only to find ourselves at the mercy of nature's raw power. Suddenly, a low rumble reverberated through the tunnels, a warning of the fragility of our surroundings. I halted, motioning for the team to listen. It was the unmistakable sound of shifting earth, a prelude to collapse. Our time was running out. "Move, move, move," I shouted, urging everyone into a near sprint as the rumbling grew more insistent. As we neared the exit tunnel, an all-too-familiar figure blocked our path. Miles, the architect of this subterranean nightmare, stood defiant amidst the chaos. His face was a mask of anger and desperation, his plans unraveling before him. "This isn't over, Morrow," he spat, his voice dripping with malice. "The Petroia will be ours again. You can't stop progress." The confrontation was brief. With our limited resources and energy, we couldn't afford another drawn-out battle. My team and I pushed past Miles, our focus solely on escape. Behind us, the cavern began to give way, the ground shaking as if the earth itself sought to reclaim the intrusions we had made into its depths. Reaching the miner felt like an impossible dream realized. Though damaged, it was still functional enough to transport us to safety. We clambered aboard, hastily securing ourselves as I initiated the ascent sequence. The machinery groaned to life, its familiar hum a lifeline pulling us back from the brink. As we rose through the darkness, I took a moment to reflect on what we had endured and what we had uncovered. The Petroia, the underground network, Miles and Romanov's machinations. All these were pieces of a larger puzzle that hinted at mysteries far deeper than mere oil reserves. The implications were staggering, a testament to both human ambition and folly. Our journey back to the surface was fraught with tension, each second stretching into an eternity as we ascended through the miles of rock and earth. The miner vibrated with the effort, its systems strained but holding steady. The silence among my team was a testament to our shared exhaustion and relief. Finally, we'd breached the surface, the miner emerging into the pale light of day. The open sky was a welcome sight, a reminder of the world that existed beyond the shadows. As we disembarked, I felt the weight of what we had uncovered and the responsibility it entailed. There was much to report, to reveal, but also much to consider about what should remain hidden. Gathering my team, I spoke with a clarity that surprised even me. "We've survived something extraordinary, but our work isn't done. We have to ensure that what we found doesn't fall into the wrong hands again. The Petroia, the secrets of the earth, they must be protected." My words resonated with the weight of the journey, a vow to safeguard the mysteries we had stumbled upon. In the light of day, the events below felt almost like a dream, a nightmare tempered by survival. Yet, as I looked at the faces of my team, I knew it was a reality we would carry with us forever, shaping the paths we would choose in the days to come. The world had shifted, and so had we, bearing the marks of an adventure that had tested our limits and expanded our understanding of what lay beneath the surface. Emerging from the depths of the earth felt like waking from a dream, each breath of fresh air a reminder that we had survived the nightmare beneath. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue across the landscape, as if welcoming us back to the world of light and air. Our return was marked by a mixture of exhaustion and relief, tempered by the sobering realization of what we had left behind in the shadows. The first order of business was to report back to Harrison Ford and the board at Stan America Oil Corporation. The meeting room felt surreal, its polished surfaces and artificial lighting a stark contrast to the raw, unfiltered reality of the caverns below. As I recounted our harrowing journey, the room fell silent, the weight of my words settling over everyone present. There were gasps of disbelief and murmurs of concern, but I remained focused, detailing both the dangers we had faced and the implications of our discoveries. Harrison listened intently, his expression a blend of skepticism and intrigue. "Calvin," he began, his voice measured and thoughtful, "what you're describing is unprecedented. But if it's true, it changes everything. We can't afford for this to fall into the wrong hands." His words mirrored my own thoughts, a shared understanding that some secrets were too dangerous to expose fully. Together, we formulated a plan to protect the subterranean world we had encountered. The Petroia, those mysterious and powerful creatures, needed to remain undisturbed, shielded from exploitation and interference. We agreed to classify much of our findings, releasing only the necessary information to ensure safety without revealing the full extent of the underground ecosystem. It was a delicate balance between transparency and preservation, a decision not taken lightly. Returning to the field site, I took a moment to reflect on everything we had experienced. The landscape, bathed in the soft light of dusk, seemed unchanged by our ordeal, yet I knew it held secrets beyond imagination. I gathered my team, their faces a mix of weariness and resolve, and shared our next steps. "We have a responsibility to protect what we found," I told them, my voice firm with conviction. "The Petroia, the caverns, they're part of a world we barely understand. We need to ensure they're left in peace." As the days turned into weeks, the oil wells began to produce once more, a testament to the Earth's enduring bounty. Yet even as the world above carried on, I remained haunted by the knowledge of what lay beneath. The Petroia were a living reminder of nature's mysteries, their existence challenging everything I thought I knew about our planet. I often found myself drawn back to the site, standing at the edge of the descent, contemplating the delicate balance between exploration and preservation. In the quiet moments, I recorded my thoughts, each entry a reflection on our journey and its broader implications. The depths of the earth are a mirror to the depths of our own ambition. I mused one evening, the stars twinkling overhead. We must tread carefully, for what we find may not always be ours to take. The words resonated within me, a reminder that knowledge came with responsibility, and that sometimes the greatest discoveries were those left undisturbed. Through it all, the specter of Elias Miles and Viktor Romanov lingered at the edge of my consciousness. Their ambitions had been thwarted, but I knew they would not rest easily. I took solace in the fact that their plans had been derailed, that the Petroia were beyond their grasp. Yet vigilance was necessary. The world was vast, and others might seek to uncover the secrets we had fought to protect. Ultimately, our journey into the abyss had changed us all, leaving indelible marks on our minds and hearts. It had been a test of endurance and courage, a challenge that pushed us to our limits and beyond. As I stood on the surface, the wind whispering through the grass, I knew that our story was only one chapter in the ongoing saga of exploration and discovery. In the end, the lessons we learned were simple yet profound. Respect the unknown, cherish the wonders of our world, and remember that some mysteries are best left unsolved. The Petroia, with their enigmatic presence, would remain hidden, guardians of a realm untouched by time. And we, mere mortals, would carry the knowledge of their existence, a secret shared by those who dared to venture into the darkness and returned, forever changed by the journey.